I'm speaking today with Jim Engdahl, who is the CEO of Star Minerals, and he's in his office in Saskatoon. He's going to tell us what Star Minerals is about and what it wants to accomplish and when that might be. Over to you, Jim.
Thanks, Jack. Well, Star Minerals is a junior company that's been around a long time, and it's metamorphosed into different phases. But when I became the management of the company, the CEO, and Gary Billingsley came on my board, it was done with specific intention of using the public vehicle that Star, as it was called at the time, Star Uranium, to create a public company in which we could in turn develop strategic metals. And that start of that was, the first was to joint venture the Great West Minerals project, Hoidas Lake, into that.
Yes.
And that's our original plan.
Okay, and what has happened, as we know from battle plans, the minute the battle starts, the plan changes. So what's happened since then?
Well, market conditions always dictate a lot of those changes, as you know, Jack. I think what happened with us is we initially, and as it turns out, commenced a preliminary economic assessment report with Bar Engineering out of Minneapolis, who were very familiar with the Hoidas Lake project, and that is in the process right now. But also, as we started moving forward, the general markets were terrible in terms of raising capital to really do a whole lot of things. And so we were looking towards other ways of thinking out of the box to create some things. But also, we did develop a strategic plan to work towards developing other strategic metals, particularly as it related to the battery world. Okay. And the first opportunity that came to us was an opportunity via our engineering group out of Minneapolis in a manganese project in Minnesota. And a very exceptional deposit of manganese that the company that owned it before was not their history to be in the mining industry, and they spent a lot of money in trying to develop it specifically for some technology purpose. But as things developed, one of the things that did happen was that they got approached by a company that had developed a new battery technology, and that company was OTI out of Vancouver. And that particular battery was manganese based. Mm-hmm. And as such, our mine-to-market model that we've used in the past came into play, and that's where Gary and myself decided that this would make a lot of sense to now work towards building a strategic company with strategic metals focused in the battery world, and with Hoidas Lake also being clearly one of our prime projects as well for the rare earth sector.
I've always, as you know, I've always been a supporter of the mine-to-market concept. In fact, Gary was the first person I knew who ever enunciated that theme, mine-to-market, and it stuck in my mind for these many years. And I think that basically mine-to-market is a strategy looking for a solution. So I'm glad to see that this is expanded beyond the rare earth space. And I looked up the companies you're talking about. And of course, Minnesota is the original source of American iron. So it's not real surprising that there's manganese there. I believe there are platinum group metals up there also. Undoubtedly, there are rare earths somewhere. But I think that you've got the right approach. And I'd like to know what your timeline is on coming out, on bringing this project into production.
Well, where we're at the moment is we have signed a three-party MOU, mm-hmm. which does bring us all the pieces of the puzzle together. And the first part of that puzzle is the joint venture agreement that's in the works and completing with crowing power out of Brainerd, Minnesota, and it's called the Emily Lake Manganese Project. And we will complete that by the end of February. And then move forward with that. That in itself, then we have the third party to that agreement is OTI, that will sign an offtake agreement for us to provide them with the EMD manganese material, and they in turn have a distribution agreement with a company, a very large company out of Vancouver, for global distribution. So within the manganese world, we have the complete mine to market. Now it's done with joint ventures and agreements, and ultimately that would be really nice if it could be done a little bit tighter in terms of ownership. But we'll deal with that one step at a time. In terms of the timing on it, Jack, I think over the course of the next 2 years, we'll be developing and proving up the bankable feasibility part of the Emily Lake project, and proving the test facilities of OTI on their battery technology. And once that is done, it will be a matter of just putting it into production and raising the capital to do so.
Is the target market of OTI the rechargeable battery space for tools, cars, machines, that type of thing?
This particular battery is one that has the capability of replacing the lead-acid battery, being half the size with the same output and substantially less cost. And so it is designed for mainly backup power at the moment, cell towers, but there certainly is several other dimensions to it, which could be used in the electric vehicle with some work and R&D on it.
But you're saying it really is the type of storage battery you might use as a primary battery in an automobile.
It's not at the moment, but it could be. It's going to be in the backup for the towers and backup powers, but a huge market for that.
Yes, there is, and quite frankly, that market is today dominated by lead acid, which besides weight and cost is a toxicity problem that I don't think manganese has. So this may be a big advantage for you. So we're very interested in following this development because it's something new, and I can't recall any manganese production in the United States in the last generation or so. Am I wrong? Is there any manganese production today in the U.S. or Canada?
There is. There's a couple other known deposits. One, I believe, is in Utah. American Manganese have a project there that's struggling a bit, much lower grade. And there is another one in Canada, in New Brunswick, I believe, that has one there that is a better, higher grade, but it's designated more for the EMM market, which is the hardening of the steel, the stainless steel market, which is where manganese, one of the other main uses for it.
Right. So I would say you're probably going to be the only producer targeting the manganese battery market at this point.
That's exactly correct. In North America.
In North America, right, yes. And
that is one of the focuses, is to be a supplier. And what brought that concept on in a lot of ways was the Tesla move to build the Gigafactory, where they insisted that all of their material be locally sourced.
Right.
Locally meaning U.S. and Canada, I'm hoping. But there is other materials, and they do not use manganese in their specific battery, but they have joint ventured with Panasonic, and Panasonic will be looking towards manganese-based batteries as well.
Okay. Now, who's your competition in this space in the world? I don't think China's producing any manganese internally, are they?
Actually, I think they are. There is a fair bit of production in China and Africa, Europe there, but there is nothing in North America that we're aware of any significance that is a primary product. Is there byproducts there may be that I'm not aware of?
Is there any manganese production in Europe?
Again, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, or me. So this is a good market, especially for the northern hemisphere. Quite frankly, backup is very important in places where global warming isn't working out. So,
so some of the other critical metals that and materials we're going to be looking for are all battery material related.
Okay.
And we will, in our bigger picture, we will attempt to bring all of them together under an umbrella of some form, cobalt, lithium, graphene, vanadium, all those seem to be some use for. So the idea is to build a battery material supply company with a true idea of fixing the supply chain and removing the risk.
That's a very good idea. It's going to be a one-stop shop for battery raw materials. Wonderful.
There you go.
Good. Best of luck to you, Jim, and we'll be asking you about this over the rest of the year to see how you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Okay.